jawaabteeda waxay ahayd dawladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka qabo waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno annaga Soomaali hadii aan nahay wadankan annaga ku nool wadankan wadankii aan annaga tax ka dhiibno waaye waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress-ka fadhiso intii aniga aan Congress joogo wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan wadanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in annaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda.
You've probably seen the clip by now. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar were caught on camera reacting live after Fox News played a resurfaced video that's gone viral. And honestly, people are talking about it like it's the biggest political drama in years. But let's slow down for a second and break it all down. Because if you just saw the clip, you might be missing the bigger picture, the context, the history, and why this is sparking such a huge reaction online. Here's what happened. Fox News dug up some old footage of Ilhan Omar speaking at one of her campaign events back in 2018. This was around the time she celebrated a major victory in Minnesota, and the footage they played focused on her comments about Somali politics and her ties to the Somali community in Minneapolis. Alongside that, there's been growing attention on Minnesota's social services system, which has been rocked by one of the largest fraud scandals in recent memory. Put the two together, and suddenly Omar and Walz are under the spotlight. And the clip of them losing it, well, it went viral fast. So let's start with some context about the scandal because it's critical to understand why these old clips resurfaced in the first place. Minnesota has a massive social services system, including multiple Medicaid programs, and recently authorities uncovered massive fraud. We're talking numbers that are almost hard to believe.
Tonight, it is still unclear why it took the state years to flag millions of dollars worth of suspected fraud. The FBI says providers billed Medicaid for helping vulnerable people find housing.
But investigators say those providers never did any actual work, and now lawmakers can't agree on what to do next. Some are renewing calls to beef up oversight. Others are skeptical of those efforts.
Fox 9's Mike Manzoni joins us now. And Mike, both sides do agree on one thing, that fraud is a problem.
But the key question now is how to tackle it. Here's a map of the homes and businesses the FBI raided yesterday. Court documents say providers billed Medicaid for services they never provided. Investigators say Housing Stabilization Services, that's the name of the program, paid out more than $100 million in claims last year alone. That's 40 times what lawmakers initially expected it to cost. The state estimated that Housing Stabilization Services would cost about $2.5 million a year. That's when it started back in 2020. Investigators say the program, which helps seniors and those with disabilities or addiction issues find housing, is vulnerable to fraud.
Over $9 billion was allegedly taken through fraudulent claims across 14 different programs. And more than 90 people have been charged, many of them convicted. That's not small potatoes. It's a huge scandal. Now, to be clear, neither Ilhan Omar nor Governor Walz has been accused of any wrongdoing in these cases. Investigators haven't linked them to the fraud. But the scandal still raises questions about oversight, and that's where their reactions to the Fox News clip come in. Whistleblowers have spoken publicly, saying that staff members had tried to flag problems and were reportedly scolded by the governor's office, and even by his chief of staff at the time. That's a serious claim, and it's why the clip of Walz and Omar reacting so strongly resonated with people. Let's focus on Ilhan Omar first. The resurfaced clips show her speaking about Somali politics and her campaign strategy. In one clip, she talks about different Somali clans and the importance of winning support from certain factions. Some reports suggest that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey secured his re-election by navigating these same interclan dynamics. Omar and her allies reportedly drew support from the Darude clan, while Frey benefited from backing tied to the Hawiye clan. For those unfamiliar, these are rival groups from the Somali Civil War. It's wild to see a foreign conflict subtly shaping local American politics, but it's a reality that plays out in Minneapolis. In another clip, Omar appears to say she was working within the US government to support Somalia. She referred to Somalia's president as our president during a Minnesota visit. Think about that for a second. A sitting US Congresswoman, serving on the House Budget Committee, openly calling a foreign leader our president, while also working in the US government. Just watch this.
Caawa aan fursad u helay madaxweynaha Soomaaliya madaxweyne Xasan Sheikh Maxamuud inaan maanta ku soo dhaweyno Minneapolis. Aniga iyo madaxweynaha special relationship aan qabnaa. Aniga adeeraan ugu wacaa asigana gabarteeyo idhaha. madaxweyne sidii qof kasta uu yiri mininkaaga waaye ku soo dhawow Minneapolis aad iyo aad aan ugu faraxsannahay in maanta madaxweynaheena aad tahay Soomaaliya dadka meeshaan wada joogo dhan waa gurigooda annaga ma dareensannihin in ay naga tahay meel naga fog Soomaaliya wadnaheenay ku nooshahay qalbigeenay ku jirtaa maalin kasta aan ka fikirnaa Soomaaliya.
Naturally, that sparked controversy. People online started questioning whether a US lawmaker should be publicly aligning themselves so closely with a foreign nation. And as these clips spread, reactions ranged from confusion to outrage. Again, I want to be clear, Omar hasn't been accused of any illegal activity, but the clips show a pattern of behavior that critics argue leans heavily on national and cultural ties for political strategy. And it's not just Omar. Another Minnesota state representative was recently caught on video referring to Somalia as our country. These moments make people wonder, how does cultural identity interact with political duty? And at what point does it become a legitimate concern for voters? Now let's bring Governor Walz back into the picture. The whistleblower's claims suggest that his office was aware of the fraud and, at times, discouraged staff from speaking up. That's important because it's not just about Omar's old speeches, it's about how the current administration managed oversight for these massive programs. When Fox News played the Resurfaced clip, both Walz and Omar reacted visibly, and the internet immediately labeled it a lose-it moment. Here's the thing. When you look at the situation in context, it's a little more complicated than just Omar said something controversial or Walz reacted poorly. The Minnesota social services system is huge and complex. Fraud at this scale is difficult to catch, and oversight involves many moving parts. That's why the whistleblower accounts are so significant. They suggest there were opportunities to prevent the fraud earlier. And that's what makes the clip of Walz and Omar's reactions so charged. It's not just the video itself, it's the story behind it. Social media reactions have been intense. Some people focused on the resurfaced speeches, highlighting the comments about Somali clans and the connections to Somalia's politics. Others zeroed in on the whistleblower claims and what they say about Walz's administration.
No, in jidadkeeni aan wada dhisano anigu waan ahay gabar Mareykanka laga doortay oo Congressska Mareykanka ku jirto laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed gabar idinku jinsi ah gabar idinku af ah gabar idinku diin ah oo ahade qof iyadoo da'yar wadankeedii laga kaxeeyay wili xiise u qabto in maalin wadankeedii ay ku noolaato oo dadkeedii wax ay la wadaagto marka alxamdulillah waxaan rajaynayaa aniga iyo ilmahayga in aan hadde ku barbaariyo iyagana ilmahooda ay ku barbaariyaan dhulkii aniga aan ku soo koray taasna haddii ay suurtagelayso waa hadda shaqo badan inaan wada qabanaa hadduu ilaahay yiraahdo oo aan ka dhignaa dhulkeena dhul barwaaqadiisa dadka oo dhan ay dareemi karaan oo ay arki karaan.
And then you had conservative outlets framing the clip as proof of a bigger problem in Minnesota politics. Whether you agree or not, the clip tapped into a real sense of political drama. Old comments resurfacing at a time when the state is under scrutiny for one of the largest fraud scandals in its history. It's also worth noting that Omar has publicly acknowledged that some of the social services programs rolled out too quickly without enough guardrails to prevent abuse. She told CNN that she believes this contributed to the fraud spiraling out of control. That doesn't absolve the administration or anyone else from oversight responsibility, but it does provide some context for her comments and her reaction to the clip. She's pointing out that systemic issues can get out of hand even when intentions are good. Now, stepping back a bit, what does all this mean for Minnesota politics? For one, it shines a spotlight on accountability and oversight. The social services fraud scandal has already led to billions of dollars in lost funds and dozens of criminal convictions. Voters are paying attention, and political opponents aren't letting these issues go unnoticed. At the same time, it shows how old political actions, speeches, or statements can come back to influence public perception years later. That's a lesson for any politician in office. Past words and affiliations can resurface at the worst possible time. So what's the takeaway here? First, always look beyond the clip. Viral moments can give you the sensation of drama, but the full story usually involves more context. In this case, it's about Minnesota's social services system, whistleblower accounts, and the broader political and cultural environment that Omar and Walz are navigating. Second, it's a reminder that politicians' past words, even from years ago, can resurface in ways that are unexpected. Third, it's an opportunity to ask bigger questions about oversight, cultural dynamics, and accountability in government. So if you've watched the clip, you know why it went viral. If you've read about the fraud scandal, you know why people are paying attention. And if you're just hearing about this for the first time, hopefully now you understand the bigger picture.